Welcome, friends. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. And each day that I fly 5-inch, I'm reminded of why I tiny whoop. That was battery number 3 of flying a 5-inch freestyle glide. This is one of the 2 analog glides, and I decided many months ago that somebody I was talking about 2207 versus 2306 and how I lean towards 2306 because they're lighter and you can get 2306s that are like 30 grams of motor. And somebody was like, yo, the 533 Fly 533 2207s are 30 grams. And I'd never seen a 2207 that was 30 or less grams. So I bought a set and they sat here for a while. And then for whatever reason the other night, when the flooding happened, a bunch of builds that had like kind of stacked up, I ended up having to move. And so in the process of moving them around, I didn't stack them all up on top of each other again. I kind of spaced them out around the room. And this one was sitting in front of the TV with the old T-Motor F40 Pro 4s and these 2207 Fly 533 motors sitting next to it. And yesterday, for whatever reason, I looked over at it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that right now. So I pulled it apart, took the motors off. I actually ended up switching out the arm LEDs. So this had a set of this is one of the 2 like complete and utter basher 5-inch rigs, and it had a set of arm LEDs on it for a long time. And they were beat bad. I plugged the battery in. When I was switching the motors out, I said, you know what? I bet you a lot of the little LEDs are broken on the arm LEDs. Let me just check them. I hooked the battery up, and out of 6 per corner, so out of 24 LEDs, one of them was remaining. There was only one arm LED working. And so I looked at it and I was like, well, I really don't want to do this, but I'm gonna swap them out. So I put a fresh, shiny new set of arm LEDs on it. These are actually white because that's all I had, with some nice fresh shrimp wrap on them as well. And then I took it out to go fly it at that little high school that I've been flying at a bunch lately. And I didn't realize that, like, I knew that there were the vertical nets, but I didn't realize that there was a horizontal net there. I saw it on the first battery, and then I was like, okay, stay away from that. And then when I did that power loop, I don't know what happened, man. I don't know why I didn't have enough. Like, maybe the camera angle slipped or something like that, but yeah, I did not have enough rearward momentum to clear it. And like as I was coming down, I remember thinking like, there's no way that that's the net. And I was flying analog, right? So I couldn't actually see it. And then it was just too late. And it hit the net, and I thought I was gonna be able to take off and get out of it, but one of the props wrapped around it. So I got the pole out, and I when you saw it jiggling all around, that was me stabbing it with the pole. And with the pole, I managed to get 1, 2, 3 unstuck, but this arm managed to sneak all the way down through the square. And so the square of the net was all the way down here like this. And at that point, there was just no way in hell it was gonna clear the tri-blade propeller. So I drove back home here and got a little ladder, and it was a super quick recovery. Just ladder up onto the roof, run up, take it out, away we go. So yeah, that was my afternoon. This thing, so one of the first things I did, and one of the first things you should always do, is turn the VTX power way down. And so I turned it down to 25 milliwatts. I was about like halfway through that battery or so. The GoPro ran for 40 minutes straight. And when I got it down, the GoPro was still running. It was still beeping, and the battery is only at 3.65 per cell for each cell. So the battery was totally fine. When I was driving away, I was like, "That sucks. That battery is wrecked." But no, the battery held in there. But because I turned the VTX down, if I'd left the VTX on 600 milliwatts, it would have been destroyed. But yeah, so like no damage at all. What was kind of interesting is maybe a little bit of damage. The pole, the end of the expandable pole, I was able to get it like wedged in perfectly in here, and that was how I was able to really shake the thing around. It looks like it may have nicked the crossfire wire, which is absolutely perfect because I now have my reason to pull this thing apart one more time and get Crossfire the hell out of here and replace it with Express LRS for better performance, better range, better everything, really, lower latency. So that's cool. I felt like I felt like kind of a jerk not putting ELRS in it yesterday. But when it comes to building, like I don't like building at all, and so if I can get like a little bit of building done, I don't want to like abuse myself and be like more. Like I want to get it done and go, and then like go fly it and have a good time, and then that'll get that momentum going in my brain of like do another build, bro, because I've probably got around 20 builds just floating around that either need to be repaired or need to get built. And so yeah, I've been not hating building lately, although I mean I no matter what I don't like it, and I'm never gonna like it probably, but I've been a little bit more willing to build as of recently, and so I want to keep that rolling. I want to fight that burnout as much as I possibly can. And yeah, this propeller that was on motor 2 is all bent up because it was the one that was like really getting screwed around in that net. But it looks like the rest of these are totally fine and ready to go. Maybe tomorrow. Probably not tomorrow. I'm getting my hair cut tomorrow. Maybe I'll bring... oh, you know what? I should bring all the... yeah, I'm going to bring all this shit with me to Alpharetta tomorrow, and I'm going to go fly a couple of my favorite Alpharetta spots. Hell yeah. Shit. That means I need to fix this wire. Maybe the wire's not cut. Maybe I can fly it one more time on Crossfire. Hold on, let's see. Oh, no, that wire's totally cut, yeah. This has no antenna right now. So, I don't know, maybe tomorrow morning I'll pop this thing open and swap ELRS into it. Here's one of the batteries that wasn't a total train wreck. Tonight on the live stream, we're going to build an Avata 2 killer. It's definitely going to do everything better than the Avata 2, for sure. There's no reason to buy the Avata 2 because of this build that I'm going to show you tonight. Since I'm going to be building, what are you drinking? This is Di Serono on the rock. This is a Death Star ice cube. Di Serono is just fucking amazing. It's all I can't eat almonds because they wreck my stomach, and so Di Serono is like my liquid almond treat. But yeah, tonight we're going to build a Cinesplore with 04. And the thought behind this build is to try to match the Avata 2 as closely as I possibly can. In terms of, I mean, it'll have significantly better flight performance, hands down, unquestionably. Runtime is the thing that it's not going to have. DJI spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on R&D with the Avata 2, and one of the things that they obviously spent a bunch of time on is aerodynamics. And the efficiency and runtime that thing gets, we will never be able to match with carbon fiber frames with like flat sheets of, flat pieces of carbon fiber, and just with, the homebrew method of building that we do, right? But I want to try to get this as close as possible. One of the ways that I'm doing that is using these ultra lightweight Brother Hobby VY 2004 3150 kV motors. These were the original Cinewoop motors that I put on my analog Cinesplore, that one, way back in the day. And they were great back in the days of Hero 6s and then the Hero 8. But once we got to like the Hero 12, the 10 and the 12, and they started to get a lot heavier, these motors did not have quite enough, basically KV. 3150 kV just wasn't quite enough. And that was when I had Kebab. That's when Bob Rugi, Kebab, started doing the 2104 FPV cycle motors, and he was cool enough to do a special KV for me and for us. A bunch of you guys snagged some of those motors. He had a short run of them done in, I want to say 3400 kV, 34, 35, 3450, something like that. And those motors were just perfect for the heavier GoPros and heavier batteries. I used to run that old Cinesplore on 4S 850 batteries. Now I've moved on to 4S 1050 batteries. So like, GoPros get 20, 30 grams heavier, battery gets 20, 30 grams heavier. That really makes a massive difference. And these motors just didn't have quite enough jam for that heavy of a setup. For this, though, these motors are going to rip. These motors are going to make tons of power because I'm saving a full 120 plus grams of not carrying around any GoPro whatsoever. This is specifically being built to just use the 04. I was going to do this. Originally, the first 04 Pro, sorry, I'm putting an 04 Pro into this. The first 04 Pro I bought, what I was going to do is put it into a Cinesplore 2. Bob has a new version of this Cinesplore with an A-arm design on the arms to make them stiffer and stronger, easier to tune. The problem is that frame is significantly heavier. This old school Cinesplore 1, I guess you could call it, frame, is incredibly lightweight. And so it's a perfect candidate for the Pro 4 setup. So I'm actually really excited about this. The other reason is Brain 3D came out. They made this set of camera mounts for the 04, and they're universal camera mounts, but in the picture with these camera mounts, there was a Cinesplore frame. And so I messaged him. I was like, hey, you designed those on the Cinesplore, didn't you? He's like, yeah, it was just like a perfect candidate for it. I'm like, that's cool. I'm actually going to do a build with that. And that was one of the things that kind of made my mind up. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be working on here tonight. Flight controller and ESC are not the best, but this is not going to be a rig that has to carry much weight, so they'll be they won't have a ton of abuse thrown at them. It's a Mamba stack. This is a 40 amp 20 by 20, and then whatever this little looks like F722 Mini Mark II flight controller. This is probably not a rig that I'm gonna fly like professionally. This is more of like an experiment kind of thing. If I do end up liking this and I want to fly it more, I'll probably change the flight controller and ESC out to something that I can trust a little bit more. But for right now, I had this stack. It's ready to go. Let's let it rip. This frame, this stack, was actually a Cinesplore that was sent to me by McConnell Studios, Mitch McConnell. Massive shout out to him. I had this like built sitting around. He sent it with an 03 in it. He wasn't using it anymore. He sent it with an 03. I took the 03 out, and that's what I put into the that's what I put into this big bastard. And so then I just had this kind of floating around, and I was like, let me do something with it. And so now it's getting an 04 Pro. The circle of FPV life. Speaking of the Cineglide, not Cinesplore, I meant to say Cineglide a second ago. I finally today got it out in the bright sunshine, and I flew 4 different propellers on it. I remembered to record on the lav mic. I remembered to record on the GoPro. I remembered to have a memory card in the 03. So I have 03 video, which will hopefully show jello or no jello on 4 different propellers. Gemfan 5152s, 5552s, 5149.9s, and 5536s. So yeah, it only took me 3 tries to get the actual little flight session that I was looking for to test those different propellers, to see what works on a big motor setup meant to go real fast. This was built as a chase rig to go 60, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. It's just, what kind of prop do you run to do that? And so, yeah, these are the 4 that I'm most interested in. I am going to try a couple other propellers, but these are the 4 that I think are going to be the best bet. I'm really surprised how well the Brother Hobby 2507 motors are handling specifically these giant props here. These are the Gemfan 5552s. I don't know why they call these propellers. They should call them fucking oars. Look at these blades, yo. Like, these are just dumb. They're super heavy. All the pitch in the world. Big ass 5.5-inch propeller. Yeah, it's shocking how well these Brother Hobby motors handle these giant propellers. So much so that, like, these might be the props that live on this thing. There are some other props that I do want to try, and at some point I want to put GPS on this so I can get a little bit more data. Like, what I really want to do is, so I run in my OSD up here in the top left corner, I run pitch, so it'll tell me if I'm 10 degrees down, 20 degrees down, 30 degrees down. The last little bit of testing that I really want to do on these propellers is to put GPS on this and to put it like 30 degrees, put like 30 degrees nose down of pitch in there, and then see what speed it'll do with each one of these different propellers. And then I'm basically going to pick the propellers that are the fastest. I think it's going to be these, though, because that's what I'm definitely noticing, is that with the bigger, this thing is also built to carry big giant batteries. One of the really nice things about this Cineglide build is that the battery mounting is massive here. You can put a battery on here that's absolutely gigantic. And so this is also built to have mega runtime with like a 6S 2000 or 1800 or 1700 or whatever. And so when you put that heavy of a battery on there, the 5-inch props are going to start to kind of fall out of the sky like a sack of hammers kind of thing, right? So the 5.5-inch props really do help with that, like, imbalance, right? Like, I've flown really heavy 5-inch rigs before, and I hate it. Like, you come off the throttle, and it's like somebody tied a fucking string to it, and they're yanking it to the ground. The 5.5-inch props make a really big difference in that respect, and so, but unfortunately, there's only really 2 5.5-inch prop options that I know of. These 5552s, and then the 5536s that I tested. 36, though, is not quite enough pitch. This is really, I want like mega pitch to go fast. This is for chasing drift cars and grip cars and motocross and stuff like that. That's going to go super fast. And I want to be able to keep up with them. And the sort of dick nose design of this frame gets all of the propellers out of view of the FPV cam. So this can also be used for, well, the main use for this is hopefully live broadcast. It'll also carry a GoPro, but yeah, this is mainly live broadcast. It'll carry a session with the 5.5-inch props. Unfortunately, if I put a Hero mount on here, the camera is so wide and the propellers are right in line with the camera that you can actually only run 5-inch props if you've got a GoPro Hero on here. Kind of annoying if I'm honest, but not the end of the world, because again, this is more for I seem to be booking more live broadcast gigs than GoPro gigs, and so yeah, this is a tool for going fast for live broadcast. We'll see what else I can scrounge together in terms of work for that. So yeah, there's a little Cineglide update. That's the plan for tonight, my friends. We're getting a little work done on this guy. See how close we can get to Avata 2 performance levels. In terms of this being an Avata killer, it's going to have ELRS, dual band ELRS, so 2.4 and 900. So the transmitter link will absolutely be better than DJI. It's running 04 with dual antennas, and they're going to be antennas on the back sticking up real nice. So it should have better signal strength on the video system as well, because the Avata buries the antennas like in the ducts and shit, and they use stupid little like flat panel antennas, right? So it should have better control link range and better video range than the Avata 2. It'll have way better flight characteristics, right? We're putting proper motors on here, 2004s, not the bullshit 1507s that they use. It's just the efficiency that, like, it's hopeless. Nobody seems to really know why, or how, rather, DJI gets the runtime that they get. I've heard from people that I kind of trust that they've found a different chemistry that they can overcharge. And apparently I've heard over 5 volts per cell. That seems kind of insane to me. Apparently the Avata 2 is 4S. If it's over 5 volts a cell, that's like 5S voltage, right? But I mean, if that's the case, that would explain it. But like, I think it's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in R&D on making it aerodynamic, and some magical battery stuff. You know, they have the benefit of, like, they're only selling smart batteries that discharge themselves. And so, yeah, you know, when you've got infinite budget, basically, and your competition is a bunch of fucking nerds in their basements, like, you can make something that outperforms the homebrew nonsense that we're working with, right? So I don't think I'll be able to touch the 20-minute runtimes that the Avata 2 will apparently get, but if I've got the same, if not better, range on the on the video and on the control link, and better flight characteristics, and something that I can fix without mailing it somewhere, right? For a lot of people, you could call that an Avata killer, right? Like, break a duct, swap the duct out. You know? A new version of ELRS comes out, update it for $20 instead of selling it and having to buy a new one. You know what I mean? So, yeah, this should also be lighter than the Avata 2, which will be pretty cool. We can I'm actually really curious about that. Let's see. Cinesplore frame. So the Cinesplore frame with the... Take the ESC out of it. It's silly not to take the ESC out of it. This is missing a couple screws, but it's got like motor screws. It's got a bunch of the body screws. This has most of the screws and the TPU up front. Cinesplore frame set up like that. Wow, it's really light, 55 grams. ESC with really long wires that are way too long. We're now up to 69 grams. Flight controller with some sort of an ELRS receiver that I am going to replace with a dual band Nomad jib jab. We are now up to 78 grams. Motors with little arm LEDs. We might not be lighter than the Avata 2. We're all the way up to 140.5 grams now. 04 Pro. Realistically, it's going to depend on the battery that I run. 174 grams now. Where are the ducts? Here they are. Ducts with the screws and Gemfan 5-blade props. Bring it up to... Oh, no, we're good. We're good. 237 and a half. Let's call it 238. And then I'm going to grab a big battery, yo. If we're going for runtime, we're going to go for a 4S1050. Where the hell are they? Where are my working batteries at? Here's one. 4S1050. I think this is like a 120 gram battery. We're there, bro. We are lighter than an Avata 2. Avata 2 is like 399 grams, I believe. Oh, dude, we're way lighter. 355. What am I forgetting? I don't think I'm forgetting anything. It'll gain a couple of grams from the ELRS antenna. But yeah, we're there, man. 355. Damn. That's hell yeah. This thing is gonna be ridiculous at that weight with these 2004 motors. This is gonna have all kinds of power. It's gonna get like an ND filter, I'm sure. Oh, the top plate. I'm missing the top plate, so it'll gain a couple grams. I'm really hoping to fly it on the 4S850s. I'm really hoping I can get like 10 minutes of runtime maybe from those 4S850s. But these 1050s are pretty badass. So yeah, man. That's the deal. That's what I'm working on. I'm hoping to get this done tonight or tomorrow, and then get it up in the air maybe this weekend. I should be able to fly this around the front of the house. It'll be nice and light. Shouldn't be super loud. Avata 2 killer. Put Avata or DJI in your live stream titles, and everyone will click. You clicked, didn't you? All right. There's actually a chance that I'm going to spend a bunch of time removing all of these wires and reversing them. I think I put the short wires on the wrong side of this. I think I would rather have the battery lead in the middle. We'll talk about that more once I kind of dive into it. I'm pretty annoyed by that. I didn't think it through. I just started soldering wires up with the way that the ESC was sitting in the frame, and I didn't think about if I wanted the battery lead to exit from the front of that stack or from the rear. And right now it's set up where the short guys are in the front, which is this stack is right on top of the front motors. And so right now the battery lead is going to be exiting out right behind the camera, which sometimes I like that setup, but sometimes I kind of don't. And I think this is one of the times that I don't, out of sheer stubbornness and the fact that this stack might not live in here forever. I'm probably just going to build it as is and just put a little bit of a longer battery lead on it. And I'm also going to do the dual battery lead setup. Pretty much every build that I do from now on, I'm going to be putting XT30 and XT60 on it and just stack them on top of each other like that on the ESC. and then I can run either battery, right? Obviously, but the really cool thing is, in like a live broadcast kind of setting, which this thing will work for because it's got 04, right? This might be something cool to kind of like fly really slowly in around people. When I fly back to change batteries, I can take if I'm using XT60 batteries, I just have to have one XT30 battery at storage voltage, right? Storage voltage is right in between of fully charged and dead. And so what you can do is I can take that XT30 storage voltage battery when I come into land, plug it in, unplug the XT60 battery, plug a fresh XT60 battery in, unplug the XT30, and the quad won't power down. It won't lose connection with the, it won't lose DJI connection, blah, 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 blah. It's just a super slick kind of thing to do, right? Like, and it also, like, if you accidentally don't bring your XT30 batteries and you bring your XT60 batteries or vice versa, you're covered, right? It's got both connectors. You don't have to run like a janky little XT30 to XT60 converter that like doesn't fit under your battery strap and is just kind of silly. So yeah, I've been doing that on pretty much all gigs that I plan to use for work, is doing double battery lead setups, and it just works, man. I did it on this guy, and it's not hard. You just do it, and then you've got double leads, and it's just like super simple. One goes on one side, one goes on the other side, and away you go. So yeah. That's a cool little thing. This rig has the battery leads up front here. You can kind of see that they're coming out from, and this works. This absolutely works having them up here. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be fine. I'm gonna do it this way again. Next one I build, I'll do it the other way. Because, like, I spent a bunch of time getting these wires all soldered up nice to this ESC, and I don't want to put a bunch of heat into the wires again. That's going to drive the solder farther down the wire. It's just kind of silly to do that. In the chat, Spaceman Spiff was first, B-Brain, Frank Nicholas, Tamava, Swiss Links, Botanically Enhanced, The Bruce, McMucus, Uriel, Matthew W., Chaser FPV, Yukon FPV, Terry Burnett, Andrew Taylor, Frosty, B-Bird, Veritas, Weasel, Flycadelic, John S. and Dave S. What's up, friends? If you want me to read your name, you got to come in early. Or just type CiottiFPV into your chat message, and then I'll read your chat message. I don't read the entire chat. I only read the people that type my name. It's like in real life. Like, you don't just walk up to Jim and start talking. You say, like, yo, Jim, and then you tell Jim the thing that you wanted to tell him. So do that in the chat. Type at CiottiFPV, or just type CiottiFPV, no spaces, and it'll light up an orange for me, and then I'll read your chat comment. Uriel did that. He said, I wanted to say hello, but I have to crash. Sorry, have fun, CiottiFPV and others. Veritas Weasel says, CiottiFPV, the way you described the impact in your drone crash investigation sounded a lot like the Indian investigation of the 787 crash, except there was a lot of yelling in Hindi. Yeah, Monday's live stream was nuts, man. Some of those crashes were just mega. I watched a little bit of that stream back, and I was like, oh, you could totally hear it bouncing down the stairs. That was kind of cool. Frank Nicholas says, CiottiFPV almonds bother your stomach because they have cyanide and oxalates in them. That's nuts. Cyanide. Jesus. 8 Fawn with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much for supporting me, my friend. He says, thank you for everything you do, Ciotti. Thank you, and all of you, for allowing me to do this, for supporting me enough that I can do this as a full-time job. The only way that I can do this, do as good of a job at this as I do, is that it's, you know, it's my full-time thing. I take some breaks to fly cinematic and or live broadcast gigs, but you know, this is my 40-hour-a-week job. Obviously, I don't stream for 40 hours a week, but this, you know, going out for hours, grabbing 5-inch rigs off roofs, and all the testing that I do in the front yard and all the building and all the flying down here, you know, that all adds up. Speaking of, CiottiFPV.com is the website where you can support me. There's a million different things that you can do. You can buy yourself something cool from my Etsy store or from my Teespring store. You can join my Patreon, which helps me out the most. I don't know what happened on Patreon, but I'm like almost $300 down from about a month ago. So do me a favor and check to make sure that you're Patreon is doing this weird shit where they're moving people off of the recurring and putting them onto a monthly thing. And so, like, if they do that at the end of that month, you don't have access to my Patreon anymore. I don't know why they're doing that, but do me a favor, jump on there and check to make sure you're still on there if you want to still be on there. If you're not on my Patreon, again, it's the best way to support me. If you like these live streams and want to see them continue, $3 a month is all it takes to support me over there. It makes a massive difference because there's a lot of you that are willing to do that. This coming Monday is a giveaway live stream. So if you jump from the $3 a month to the $5 a month tier, you'll be entered to win Tiny Whoop and Toothpick stuff. It's usually $40, $50, $60 worth of stuff. So for an extra $2, if you win $50 in Tiny Whoop parts, that's a pretty good deal, right? Get on that $5 tier. You can do it. There's also a $10 and a $20 tier if you want to win 3-inch parts or 5-inch parts. Lots of different ways you can support me. Patreon is the best, though. Live streaming schedule is also over on here. Fiverr, if you want to work one-on-one with me, I can help you build better, tune better, teach you how to fly better. PayPal, if you want to support me directly. Discord has all kinds of fun stuff going on. When you join the Patreon, you get full access to the Discord, and your name changes colors, and everybody's like, oh, you're a cool guy. So there's another good reason to join the Patreon. Searchable live stream transcripts, thanks to Craig, and then a whole bunch of affiliate links. Amazon Get FPV, Pyrodrone, Race Day Quads, Newbie Drone, Weebleed FPV, Beta FPV, FPV Cycle, Hasingi, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HD0, Fly William X, Banggood, Camera Butter, AliExpress. If you order from any one of these websites and you hit my affiliate link at some point, like within a week or so before you place that order, I'll get a small percentage of your total order. So easiest thing to do is just to change your bookmarks to these affiliate links. And then you don't even have to think about it. When you hit your bookmark for Emax's website, it's going to hit my affiliate link. It's going to drop my info into your shopping cart. And when you check out, I'll get a small percentage of your order. It doesn't affect you in any way. You can still get free shipping and coupon codes and all that nonsense. There's no reason not to use affiliate links every single time you order on the internet. If you don't use mine, use somebody else's. Help somebody make stuff here on YouTube that you can watch and learn and enjoy and smile, and we'll all die happy. That's how you support me, friends. It means a lot. I really do appreciate it. County FPV says, I see you have an ND filter in your mount. I have the same setup from Brain 3D and Session 5, but I feel like I'm going to break something trying to fit both in the mount. Is there a trick? Yeah, it's I do too. I feel like I'm going to break something every time. The trick is to get the camera butter ND filters. The TBS ND filters are like twice as thick. And so if you're trying to cram a TBS filter and then your Session 5 in there, you got to push really hard on that. So here's the other thing, is that you put the ND filter in first and then you put the GoPro in. I don't think you can do it any other way. I don't think you can put the Session in there and then put the ND filter. But if you were trying to do that, that's a miracle that you got it to work, and that's definitely why you feel like you're going to break it. So yeah, get the ND filter, get it in there. It kind of sits up into the TPU, and then you can ram the Session home. With the camera butter ND filters being so much thinner, it feels way less sketchy to kind of do it. So yeah, man, that's the trick. Wilbur FPV says, that's lighter than expected. Agreed. Brandon's Baked Beans is in the house. So good to have this fella back. Brandon says, so Brandon has had an Avata 2 for a long time. He says, my Avata 2 flies for 15 minutes tops. I think you got to fly really lame for more than that. I love to hear that. 15 minutes is still an outrageous amount of runtime, but I love that. I love to hear that. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow, so soak in the mop. Soak in the Anglo Fro while it's still here. Oh, that's interesting. Brandon says the motor, there's a motor output limit when you're under 30% battery on the Avata 2. That's pretty interesting. Brandon also says, once I tried to split S under a tree and I hit the ground. I have that on my first Avata 2 video from its release day. Yeah, the flight, the Avata 2 is super interesting, man. Like if you put the nose down, it hauls. Like it's really shockingly fast in a straight line, but the flight characteristics suck, which is one of the things that makes me think that it's just super aerodynamic. Like they really spent time and effort getting the aerodynamics of that thing really nice, because it's not, you know, we build rigs that go fast because we put power trains in them that make a ton of power, and that's also why their flight characteristics are so good, right? DJI did not do that, right? They used like some sort of a 1507 motor, which is brutal because it overheats. I mean, sure, it makes a lot of power and it's really lightweight, but it's not a great motor choice for performance, for flight performance. But yeah, Frank Nicholas says Avata 2 takeoff weight 377 grams. Okay, I thought it was. Somebody had specifically said it was exactly 399 because they knew that the FAA was going to change the 250 rule up to 400. 377, I think I'm still under, so that's pretty cool. CiottiFPV says, "Whoa, the XT30, XT60 double plug is a sick idea, right? I can't believe I haven't been. I've had a bunch of these Cinewhoops. It's been super, like the analog one. I've always had it on XT30 to keep the weight absolutely as low as possible. When I built the heavier digital one, I did XT60, and it's always been kind of annoying that like one is one, the other is the other. We could have been doing the double battery lead thing forever. There's kind of no reason not to do it other than like 3 extra grams of big thick cable and connector." B-Mud Skipper says, "Have you given lithium ion a thought for more cruisy, longer runtime for gigs?" I do have a big ass 6S lithium ion battery. Man, they just fly so bad though. Like they're just they fly so bad that like it makes me nervous. Like if I had like a panic situation, I feel like I would crash because of them. So I've never actually run them. I've talked to Rich from Hyperlow does a bunch of work with Monster Jam, and he brings half lithium ion and half lipo, and he ends up using the lipos just for the same reason. Like he's got a bunch of 3-inch box frame builds that he flies for Monster Jam, and like, yeah, he always ends up using the lipos just because they can get you out of trouble so much easier, and you still get really good runtime on them. Like lithium ions, yeah, they're more power dense. You are going to get longer runtimes on them, but like the cost is a bit high for that. And so like, if I was just specifically doing, like, I should probably have at least one 4S lithium ion battery, and then if for some reason I just have to throw it up in the air and just like float around, that would be the right choice. But like, yeah, I don't know, it's tough. And then like you got to worry about like accidentally overcharging it because they only want 410 instead of 420 per cell. It's not as easy as just like get it and throw it in there and away you go. You're going to be using Throttle Expo is out the window because you're going to be using way more throttle with those batteries. You got to run them down really low, so like your low battery warning is going to be freaking out for like a couple of minutes as the voltage drops way down below 3.5, right? So it's crossed my mind. I bought that one. I flew it, and I was just pretty disgusted, and that was kind of the end of it, to be honest. Rax says, looking at a 65mm freestyle build using the Matrix, Pinch, and 0802 topspins. Thoughts on that build? Seemed weird that it had 802s on 31mm props. Yeah, 802 is definitely not the way for a 65mm build. You want 702s. I know it seems like a very small thing, the difference between 802 and 702, but it's gigantic. 702s are way lighter, they're way more responsive, and they completely transform a 65 millimeter build. Like a 65 millimeter tiny whoop on 802s feels like a fat shit. And then you put it on, you just swap the motors, $40, just swap the motors, and it's alive, and it's amazing, and the runtime goes through the roof, and it's really definitely what you want. 802s are really only for 75 millimeter 1.6 inch prop builds, and they're kind of perfect on that build. So if you already have those 802s, just hold on to them for like a 2S 75 millimeter build, and you'll love them for that. I'm still trying to get used to this chair. Right now what I'm doing is just pushing back really hard on it. I'm just like pushing way the hell back on. Look how vertical this chair sits. It makes me like pushes me forward, and there's no way to like force it to stay back. Although I wonder if there's something I could 3D print to like jam in the mechanism to give it a little bit more lean back. It leans way back. Woo! But see, I can't like just push back the whole time. Fucking computer chairs can go to hell. Brian Kirk says, I can't get these power loops and matty flips indoors. Not enough room with my newbie drone Hummingbird V4 with the 65 Pro setup. Anything I can do to stop hitting the ceiling and the floor? Not really. It took me a long time too. Like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of batteries. Doing hardcore freestyle shit in the house is unreasonably difficult. You have to speed up your inputs. You have to live in a land of extremes. So you have to scrape the ground, and then you have to throw it all the way up and scrape the ceiling, and then you have to scrape the ground again, right? That's going to give you the most time and the most distance to get it done. And then you just have to, like, you have to speed up your inputs. You go and you fly outside and you do a power loop that's 400 feet high. You've got days to plan things out and come down and all that shit. Inside the house where the ceiling is 8 feet high, you got to be on it. And so you have to accelerate your inputs. You have to push your brain harder. This is one of the things that was the hardest to teach in autocross. Was trying to teach my students to like think faster, like push your brain harder. Your brain is used to just kind of chilling and like, you know, you're walking around and everything happens slow. You're driving in traffic and like, oh, I'm gonna pass this guy, and it's like, you know, your speed differentials maybe like 5 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour. So like your brain is used to just like everything kind of happening slowly. You gotta fix that. You gotta push it harder. Like one of the things I would tell people to do is like when they're just driving to work, instead of looking really far ahead, which is what you want to do for safety, start looking down and like look at like the reflectors in the road to get used to stuff whizzing by your car at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. Look at the stripes, catch the stripe going by. That's going to force your eyes and your brain to work faster and work faster. And then when you're at the track and there's an apex cone coming by at 80 miles an hour, your brain has a chance at like figuring out what the hell's going on because you've been looking at things whizzing by you. And so similar kind of thing with tiny whooping in the house. You have to force your brain to work faster. And you also kind of have to force your eyes to move faster. So fly lower to the ground. That's one of the big ways. Not only is that going to give you more space, but when you're closer to the ground is going to be whizzing past you faster. And so that's going to train your brain to work a little bit faster. and just fly more batteries. It really, like, the 6 batteries a day thing is because of how difficult it is to fly full tilt freestyle inside the house. Like, you have to fly 6 batteries a day every single day for a long time to be able to do it. It's the only chance that you've got. So yeah, I wish I had a magic trick, a magic wand, but it's mainly about putting the time in and putting the batteries in. Luckily, it's fun to fly, so you know you'll have fun while you're getting good, you scrub. Dave S says, CiottiFPV in chat, do most GPS have a small battery to keep sats for a short time when switching batteries? I have no idea. I've never run GPS before. I hope they do. John S says, thanks for these streams, doing the $5 a month sub now to support. Thank you very much, brother. That's very cool of you. I hope you win this Monday's giveaway. Jamie Flies FPV says, my 65mm Cockroach 04 build is 27.8 grams dry. With the Beta FPV Lava 300 mAh, I get 215 to 245 minute flights. Should I try the WeBleed 450s, or will it get too heavy? It'll get too heavy. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm guessing that you mean the WeBleed 465s. That's what these are, right? Yeah, 465. If you're doing an order on WeBleed, you should buy at least one of these, because it's really cool to have just to kind of fart around with. The big problem with this battery is if you crash and you nose it in, it's going to rip your battery leads off. It's so long that it like hangs out the front, and it's going to hit the ground before anything else, and it's going to be a mess. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It is going to make that build too heavy. 65mm it has to be lightweight. 04 on a 65mm build, we're asking too much. The fact that it works at all is an utter miracle. I would just buy a bunch more 300 mAh BT 2.0 batteries. If you want, you can start screwing around with like which 300 mAh battery is the lightest, and I think the Lavas are actually the heaviest. I've got a couple here that I'm gonna. I have 4 different 300 mAh BT 2.0 batteries. Look at me. Because like you're at a point where you're looking for a bunch of small gains. So like the Lava is 8.6 grams. The WeBleed is 8.45. The Tattoo is probably exactly the same. No. Wow. 8.16. I'll be damned. And then the Quad Gas, which I've heard is the lightest, is not the lightest. It's 8.55 grams. So that's kind of wild. The Tattoo is significantly lighter, 8.14. And you can get these from everywhere. And I've yet to notice a difference between any of these batteries. They all seem to run for the same amount of time, and they all work totally fine. So yeah, maybe snag some of these Tattoos. They seem to be a little bit lighter. They might be a little bit lighter because they have a little bit less lithium in them. But who the hell knows? I don't. But yeah, the 465s are a tough sell because they're just gonna yeah, they're you cannot crash them like at all. It's it'll be really messy if you crash them. And then, you know, like if it rips the battery lead off, God knows what happens at that point, right? If those bare leads touch the board in a weird spot, they're going to blow the board up. Like, it's all bad, right? If they touch each other, they're going to start a fire. So I love that these 465 batteries are a thing. And if you're absolutely not going to crash, you'll get a little bit more runtime with them. Motors are going to get significantly hotter. Like I said, you should get one. Next time you're doing a WeBleed order, get one for sure. Matter of fact, I'll let you borrow one. Jamie bought screws for my Etsy store that we're going to meet up instead of me shipping it because she's local. we're gonna meet up and I'll give her the screws and then we'll hang out and fly or like whatever. I have 4 of these 465s and they just sit here. I will absolutely let you borrow one. And if you like them, you can buy some. If not, whatever. I probably won't ask for it back, to be honest, because I have 4 that I don't use. I'd rather have 3 that I don't use. So yeah. Yukon FPV says, have you tried the Baby Ratel 2 camera on anything? Oh my god, ages ago, I think so. I put one in my Meteor 75 Pro, and it's crazy how good the low light performance is. I remember that. Yeah, I remember the Baby Ratel did have great low light performance. It's a Caddx camera, and it's back before Caddx kind of like linked up with DJI and figured out their quality control stuff. I remember one of the big issues with those old Caddx analog cameras, they didn't last very long. And so, yeah, it's been literally like probably at least 3 years. So I don't remember what the deal is with the Caddx, the Baby Ratel 2. But yeah, I stayed away from Caddx cameras because of the lack of reliability. Sporny typed Ciotti_FPV, but I just happened to see it. It didn't light up orange because of the underscore. Sporny says, why exactly wasn't just an adapter the choice? An adapter was always the choice, but the adapter adds a little bit of length, and it's like rigid, and so it's just a total pain in the ass. And the adapter doesn't allow you to keep the quad powered up. Sometimes if you need to land it, get another battery, and get right back up in the air, waiting for DJI to reboot is like an extra 30 seconds, and that can get really annoying. So having the double battery connectors and plugging in one battery, unplugging the other, putting the fresh battery, unplugging your storage voltage battery is like really, really nice. Like on the live broadcast stuff, that's going to be incredible. Because like, there's like with the cycling races, there'll be situations where like, so what I've learned over the years of doing them is that I have to be towards the end of the race. I have to specifically plan out, look at the number of laps left, and plan out when my battery changes are going to be. So when there's 8 laps left, depending on the elevation that I'm flying at, depending on like which part of the course that I'm flying on, sometimes I can get 2 chase runs per battery, sometimes I can get 3, sometimes I can even get 4. I have to plan it out. So like if I'm only getting 2 runs per battery, at 8 laps, I need to be doing a battery change so that I can fly 8 and 7 battery change, fly right 6 and it also depends on like where I'm landing. Sometimes I'll lose a chase, and so it can get like really annoying. Of like, oh, there's 8 batteries left. If I change now, I'm gonna lose a battery on lap 5. And then I'll lose another chase on 2, and then I need to, right, like, I have to chase them across the finish line on the last lap. And so having the ability to more quickly change batteries can make a huge difference. Like, if I have a battery up, and I planned all that out, and for whatever reason the battery is struggling on that last lap, being able to come back and change it 30 seconds to 60 seconds faster is huge. So the double connector thing is really, really nice. And you have to do it on individual wires. You can't just like, you can't just like splice an XT30 into an XT60 because it'll be an open circuit. You have to have 2 separate sets of wires, I think. I'm pretty sure you do. But you would want, I think you would want to anyway. But yeah, I've been using adapters for years, and they're just, they work, but they're super annoying. Lindsay Massey says, I enjoy watching your videos, and my husband watch me and my husband watch every live stream. Very cool. I joined your Patreon to help you continue doing it. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Very, very cool. And thank you too for enjoying. That means the world to me. I started doing this, and I'm not burned out on this, and I continue to do this because of that, but because there are people that enjoy it. This is not this is not a great way to make lots of money. I don't do this to make lots of money. And so it means a lot that there are so many of you that enjoy these and get something out of them. That is 100% what drives me to keep going when things get scary or or tiring or whatever. So thank you too. Very cool. Veritas Wizard says, my DJI FPV original drone does 100 miles an hour. I absolutely love it. The other Mavericks will stay in the air for about 50 to 55 minutes. No, it doesn't. The DJI FPV Potato was a train wreck. There's no way it does 100 miles an hour. The other Mavericks will stay in the air. What's that mean? I think Veritas Weasel is messing with me. Cold Power says, you can put lithium ion at 4.2 volt. Yeah, I've accidentally done it by a bunch of times. It's not good to do it, though. I think my X7S charges the 2S lithium ion to 4.3. Oh, my God. It came with the battery, and I never changed the settings for it, so I might just be trusting that it won't explode. Dave S. says, adjust the chair stops. This chair does not have stops to it that can be adjusted, unfortunately. Cold Power says, my favorite practice maneuver that forces you to learn throttle discipline is vertical figure eights around two horizontal poles, like power loop matty flip, fly over, drop down, turn around, come back, repeat. Are you talking like two poles, you fly over the top one, you matty flip down like this, and then you power loop up, and then you matty flip down? I love that. There's a spot at Rampage in Micro Mayhem with two big ass pipes like that, and I swear to God, I've broken like at least 2 or 3 tiny whoops and burned at least 40 fucking batteries just doing that over and over again. It's so difficult, but it's so hard. It's so much fun to do, and it's really cool looking because if you get it just right, there's like you're looking like you put the one of the tricks to a matty flip is to put the object that you're matty flipping like towards the top of the frame, and then it looks really cool that way. And then so like you it comes out of the frame, and then you pick up this other pipe as you power loop it, and then it's just really, really cool looking. Oh God, I am the worst. I forgot to Maggie got an amazing tattoo today. Look at this. Hold on. She's been wanting one for a long time, and she's had a bunch of like amazing things happen in life, and she said, you know what, I'm doing it. And it is really, really cool. Let me just make sure that, hold on. Yeah, we're cool. She's not shown anything that she'd be upset for me for showing. Look at this, yo. It's gonna get color at some point, but this was 5 hours of work. The tattoo artist is just amazing. It looks so good, my God. And it's not all red. Maggie's got like magical skin. Every tattoo I've ever seen, like when it's fresh like that, it's bright red and looks awful. She's like fine. That's weird. So yeah, that was her day. B-Mud Skipper says, for good practice indoors, check out the Liftoff Micro Drones DLC for tight spaces. Nah, man, just fly. The tiny whoops are so durable. Just fly. Well, if you have carpeting, if you've got like in the basement here, if you've got carpeting, man, just do it for real. I'm all about the sim. Don't get me wrong, but like, yeah, tiny whoops are just so durable at this point that like, and none of the sims are ever gonna come close enough to like the physics of an actual tiny whoop. I actually think that you should just buy a bunch of batteries and buy like an extra tiny whoop and just do it for real. That's just my opinion. No wrong answers, but Veritas Uza says, watch how far you lean back in that chair. You'll fall down. Your props will never spin right again. When I was working at Disc Makers in the sales department, one of my best friends there, Jack Gillespie, he used to always lean back in his computer chair, and like he would do it more and more and more and more. And like we would all see him doing it, and every once in a while one of us would be like, bro, you're gonna fucking bust your ass one of these days. And nah, I'm fine. Eventually he was doing it so much that he was going up on 2 wheels, which is what I'm actually doing right now. I'm firmly holding the desk. But to like really late, and like he would do this while he was on the phone, like he, you know, taking sales calls, headset on, everything. And sure as fucking shit, the one day he's back on 2 wheels and he goes a little bit too far, and like it was like a goddamn Looney Tunes. It was like an episode of fucking Looney Tunes. Like first of all, he bashes his legs into the front corner of the desk, right? So like boom of you know, like grown ass man legs smashing into the desk. And then he had so much momentum that like his legs came out, and so like we all, you know, it happens like that, right? And so like by the time we all turned, here's fucking Jack, chair on the floor, fucking like both fucking feet. Obviously he wasn't barefoot, but like both feet straight up in the fucking air. It was incredible. It was one of the funniest moments of my life, because like every single one of us knew exactly what happened when we heard it. You know what I mean? Like, but it was just so satisfying to look over and just see, you know, and the chair wheels are like swiveling around and shit. Oh my god, I will never forget that until the day that I die. Oh my god. Cole Power says, I don't think GPS receivers have a battery, but either the GPS receiver or the flight controller will remember the most recently acquired satellites. Shouldn't be crazy to restart. Cool. Rack says, the new tattoos are silver cells. Wonder what they weigh in at. I still need to watch that Rosser video about the version 6 tattoo R-line. Has anybody watched it? You want to spoil it for me? JB Flies FPV says, thank you, you're certainly welcome. B Mud Skipper says, it has been a thing to connect the DJI Air unit to a plug so you can wait for satellites without overheating the VTX, then plug in the DJI and connect the goggles and then fly. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Kazuma says, you doing Igow? I am not. I'm sure you're too busy, lol. Yep. Triple gate stack this week. Feels like you're kind of trick. You fly forward and backwards, up or down, then do a power loop or matty flip through. Forward and back. Oh, forwards and then backwards through the middle, and then I guess power loop down the bottom. That's pretty slick. That's very cool. Yeah, I would love to do Igow, but I am so behind on builds and edits too. Like the biggest thing is I cannot justify spending the time that it would take to do all of those edits when I have so many half-done edits and I don't even have a cinematic reel. Like I like there are so many edits that I would need to do before it would make any sense to do Igow, right? Something that like realistically I'm not gonna win. It's just like me doing Igow, I'd be doing it for me, and I'm not in a place where I can do that. Like I have to prioritize the things that make me money, which is one of the hardest things about doing what you love as a full-time gig. And it's one of the things that nobody really tells you. Like people talk about like, oh, you know, you're going to hate like being an accountant. You're going to hate being an HR person, right? Like, but I'd never heard somebody explain that like you're going to have to very seriously like look at all the things that you can do and then take all of those things that make you money and put them on top of the pile every single time. It's this is not me complaining. It was just that was one of the biggest shocks to me, and one of the biggest things that I've had to constantly grapple with, because the things that make the money are not necessarily the things that you like doing the most. And when you do the things that make you the money over and 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 over again, right? you start to like them a little bit less. I still love cinematic flying. I still love live broadcast flying. I still love doing these live streams, but yeah. I'm still a lucky ass motherfucker though at the end of the day, and I would so much rather be doing this than doing project management again, even though I could make literally twice as much money doing project management. But you know, I did that for a long time. I had really good money. I had expensive hobbies. I now have a not all that expensive hobby, and I can't say that I'm having any less fun. You know, like motorsport was an absolute blast, but so is FPV, right? And it's like, I'm not the type of person that has any ego tied up in like how much money I make. You know, like that's something that actually really bothers me about people that are like, oh, I'm better than you because I make more money than you. It's like, no, you're not. And just from you saying that, you're kind of a douche. So yeah, I would much rather scrape by doing what I love in my life that, you know, could be over at any moment, than doing something that I really didn't enjoy, that made shitloads of money. But that's just me, you know. If you're the other way around, that's totally fine. Just don't be a dick about it. You're no better than anyone else based on your bank account. I promise you. Cole Power says the point of the maneuver isn't to power loop into the next maneuver. It's just to stay as close and tight to the poles as you can. It forces throttle yaw and coordinated pitch roll. Very cool. Cole also says part of it is setting into prop wash, and when you get good, you can chain them to do a ton of them. So you don't spend a ton of time lining up the next trick. It's right there behind you. Are you trying to do as many as you can in an amount of time? I know Igow's done that before. You can also do it in the simulator. Every map will have something you can use this for. It's trivial to set up in real life. Wire lines, PVC. And you get a bunch of blip, fall, control, repeat to learn. Nice. Frosty says, send me my Etsy order, please. My toolbox yearns for your stickers. Deal. The tab with the Etsy orders got buried. I apologize, friends. Frosty, which one is... Oh, there it is. I got you. Oh my god, I'm way behind on that one. I really wish that Etsy would send me fucking some kind of a notification when I get orders. God damn it. Sorry, brother. I'll get them out tomorrow. Also, my envelopes got wet in the flood. And I keep forgetting to buy more envelopes. I need to get... God damn it. I wanted to get... I was going to get envelopes on my ride home from flying today, but then I put the thing into the net, and I forgot. But I will go out and get envelopes. I'll get envelopes before or after I get my hair cut tomorrow, because I'll be right next to a grocery store, and they usually have them. Sorry, dude. I can't believe how behind that order is. I'm a bad. Andrew Taylor says, what kinds of projects did you project manage? Initially, I worked for a company called Disc Makers, and we sold CD and DVD pressing projects. So, like, we would do the artwork in-house, mastering in-house. We even had a graphic design studio in-house, and we could print posters and shit like that. And then I moved to an SEO company after that, search engine optimization and social media, and then I moved to Charleston, and I worked for a child's furniture company. Something else was in there, I forget. And then the last project management job I had was with a company called Benefit Focus in Charleston. They had this software that would manage a company's healthcare, basically. The long and short of it, after I worked there for a long time, what I realized the software actually does is it gives management an ability to predict whether or not their employees are going to go over 30 hours so that they can then cut their hours and not have to offer them health care. And when I realized that that's what was going on, I was already in a really bad place, just mental health wise, for a lot of reasons in my life at that time. And like when I realized that that's what we were doing, I was pretty horrified. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Really, really evil software. No matter how you kind of look at it, there's no way that you could use that software in like a positive kind of light. It was pretty specifically designed to help companies rip their employees off. So that really sucked. But you know, I mean, working in healthcare in general is pretty tough. It's a pretty evil business in America, unfortunately. It shouldn't be, but it is. So yeah, that was tough. But luckily I lived through that, just barely, but yeah. Veritas Woozer says DJI Mavic 2S flight time is 31 minutes. Mavic 2S. Yeah, big old 7-inch props will do that. My Mavic 2 Pro, I'm assuming, gets that same amount of runtime. I'm usually like full throttle forward on the damn, full pitch forward on the damn thing, though. I don't think I've ever gotten a half an hour out of it. Andrew Taylor says, thanks for sharing that, sir. You're welcome, brother. Cool. Let's get to work on the Avata killer. Tongue firmly planted in cheek. Although, I mean, it's gonna do everything better than the Avata 2, other than efficiency. And I don't know, maybe I can get somewhat close on the efficiency side of the world. We'll find out together, my friends. Okay, so how much can I move this forward? Not much. Let me do this, and then yeah, there we go. There we go. Just all right. So let's do the battery lead setup here first, because I've never actually shown that on a live stream, and it's not that hard, but it's also not that easy to do the double stack thing. I have shown that before on the live stream. I don't have a great way of doing it, but I always manage to get it done. The problem with soldering two wires on top of each other is that, like, you put the first wire on, that's fine. When you put the second wire on, the first wire is going to want to move. So it's really hard to kind of keep that first wire exactly where it needs to be. But there are kind of, sort of, maybe some tricks. So the first thing that I want to do is figure out how long these guys need to be. This XT60 is on thinner cord. This is 14 gauge. This XT30 lead is actually on 16 gauge. I wish I had one of these XT60s with 16, but it's okay. 14 is pretty good. A lot of these XT60s that you buy pre-soldered like this are on 12 gauge, which is just way, way, way too big. So if you're going to do the double setup, you want 14 gauge at the max. Even better, though, would be if you could find... If you're going to make your own XT60, do it with 16 gauge. If you're doing a build that you're going to have the XT30 on 16 gauge, you might as well also have the XT60 on... XT30 on... You might as well match up the wire gauge, right? And 16 gauge is going to be enough. If the build is so low power that you're even considering putting an XT30 on it, 16 gauge should be absolutely fine for you. So I want to get these the exact right length. I find that to be super important when you're doing a build. If your battery leads are too long, there's a really good chance that they're going to get hung up in the props, and they're also really heavy. So don't do that. Don't let your battery leads be too long. So this is my main digital Cinesplore. The length on these is just about perfect. I run the battery with the wires coming out the back, and then no, actually I don't. I run the battery with the wires up front. What the hell did you do that for, Canon? It didn't even freeze. It just full-blown turned off. What is that about? Come on back, brother. Come on. Come on, you dirty rat hoe. There we go. Yeah, get your battery leads the right length. I like this because this is just barely long enough that if for some reason I do have to run the battery with the wires in the back, it'll reach, and I can kind of get this under the battery strap to kind of hold it down. But this is good. So I want the lead to roughly be able to get to the middle kind of standoff here. And then if I run the battery with the leads up front, I just wrap it up and drop it down, and I can. What's cool with the ducts is you can push these leads like downwards, right? You can push these leads down here like that, and then the battery wire drops down and it plugs in, and it's not getting in the way of anything. So even with the center standoff. So if we've got it like this, that means, and now you also want to look at positive and negative, because you want to make the one on the short side a little bit shorter. That's going to make the battery lead just kind of like sit a lot better. So let me take a look. Oh wow, what the hell? Oh yeah, okay, so positive is towards me. We're going to clean these pads up quite a bit, but positive is towards me. I'm going to run this out this direction, and so if this is, yeah, you know what? Hold on. Let me check one thing real quick. Let me just dry fit the camera in here and make sure I'm going to have enough room. And yeah, it looks like that'll be totally fine. That'll be there. That'll be there. Yeah, we'll be all right. Cool. Okay, so positive is towards me, I think I said. And so if I lay this on here, and then if I want this to be just long enough to get there, that looks like that's about right. Stick up like that, push it down like that. Take just a little bit of length out of that. So if I push it down between the duct, it'll be like that. All right, that's looking good. So hold this here, and now I'm just gonna nip the positive lead, and then I'll cut it the rest of the way through in a second, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with the ground. Just cut a little bit like that, and now we've got these marks. We can come in, cut them the rest of the way. All right. And I purposefully left just a little bit extra on there, because usually when I now come back and kind of like dry fit it again, sometimes I need to reduce the length a little bit more. But in this case, I think we're actually pretty good. This is looking about right. All right. So XT30 is cut the correct length. Now we're going to do the exact same thing with the XT60. And so now the negative is closer to me. So we're going to put this like this. The XT60 lead is so much bigger that you got to give extra kind of wire to get it to tuck down. Also, we're going to keep in mind that there's going to be a duct here. So this wire is not going to be able to go out like this. This wire is going to be held in tight. So I'm going to use my thumb to kind of approximate like the duct, basically. And so there's that. Now that I think about it, this is not... Normally, there's a big old TPU GoPro holder here, and so I'll run the battery with the wires in the front, and then the wires kind of push up against this, and this whole thing kind of protects it. This build is not going to have this. It's just going to be naked up front here, and that kind of makes me want to run the battery with the wires in the back, because like most crashes happen with forward momentum, and if you've got your balance lead in the front and your main leads in the front and you crash inverted, you can mangle those. I find it's a lot better to have the wires in the back on builds that don't have a GoPro. But here's the other thing. On this build, I've got 120 something grams all the way up here, and so I push the battery really far back to offset it CG wise. On this build, the battery is going to be dead center because this thing is going to be pretty much perfectly balanced front to rear. It'll be a little bit front heavy, I think, but this will not, it won't have 120 grams on the nose. So when I mount the battery on this build, when I mount the battery, I'm going to have to add some more grip up here because the battery is going to sit pretty much right in the middle. And so let me grab one of those 4S 150s and take a quick look. You should absolutely spend this much time figuring out your... Fuck you, Canon! Stop turning off, you jerk! You should absolutely spend this much time figuring out how you want to mount your batteries because it makes a huge difference in mainly reliability. If you have the battery mounted in a way that makes sense, it's going to be so much more reliable. You're going to really benefit from that. So if the battery is dead center, this cable needs to be that long. See, I mean, we're pretty much there. And this will be cool because I can put this under the battery strap. And I've got a little bit of extra cable here. God forbid, I can always flip the battery like this and do that to get a bunch more length on this cable. But I don't like doing that. I don't like it wrapping out like that. I really prefer to have it like this, where it's, you know what I mean? And so let's put this back on here. I'm going to shift it back just the tiniest little bit. And so I don't want to like really pull this forward. I want to let it, give it a little bit of slack. And so this lead needs to be right around there. And so if I take this out, this lead needs to sit like that. We'll give it a little bit extra. And then, shit, I forget where the positive and the negative are. Positive is farther away. Okay, so this needs to sit like this. These wires are going to come down here like that. I hope I didn't cut that XT30 too short to do this. Okay, so that's going to come down there. Get back on there, you fuck. Get back on there. There we go. Okay. Just enough room. And, all right, good. So same deal. We're just going to sneak in here and nick one, nick the other, and then cut them. One and two. You could also do that with like a marker, but I mean, save yourself some time and do it with your flush cutters because you're about to use the flush cutters anyway. If I look at these two and compare them, yeah, the XT30 is no, it's perfect. Look at that. Great. Sweet. Just for the sake of argument, though, let me grab a XT30 battery. So where are they? Here we go. All right, XT30 4S850. I run this on here. Oh wow, that's short. Yeah, see that's. I would need to make that XT30 lead really long. So on these batteries, I would run them in that awkward kind of orientation here. But that's actually completely fine. The balance lead can. Well, let's see. Let's make sure that the balance lead won't pop out of the little holder here when I do that. So if I do that and I push this holder down, now we're good. All right, perfect. So if it's like this, centered, this lead needs to be there. Okay. So if that lead is there, I'm totally fine. Plenty of length. Yeah. Awesome. Love it. Good to go. Again, you should absolutely spend this long doing this. I don't really have space for a capacitor here. I could maybe sneak one down here, I guess. I would really like to run one. Let me see. All right, what's the smallest? Oh, wait, what's this sitting right here? What are you, little buddy? 35 volt 470. I don't really need a 35 volt. Oh, boy. Then we're going to be running 3 wires, which is a lot. Boy, does that fit under there nice, though. Are there pads top and bottom, maybe? Oh, there are. Ooh, ooh, yo. It's going to be crowded up here, though, with the... so that just made my life really easy. I'm going to put the XT30 on one side and the XT60 on the other side. So that's super easy. Do I do a capacitor? I don't really need for it to be a 35 volt capacitor. Because I'm not going to run 6S on this. What is this? This guy's nice and small. 220 UF, 35 volt. I'll fit down there all day. But the problem is I am going to have a set of wires down here. Let me put that there and then grab this camera and just take a super quick look. I would love to at least run a tiny little capacitor. Yeah, that should work. There should be enough space there. Let me see what else I got though. Ooh, I got this little tiny guy with a little jib jab on it. What are you? What are you? 25 volt. There we go. 330. 4, 8, 12, 16, and then 0.2, 16.8. So 4S is 16.8 volts at full stankalotopus. 25 volts should be absolutely fine. And 330 is actually great. These capacitors get so much bigger when they go from 25 volts to 35 volts. Here's that same 330, 25 volt. I wonder if I could... I wonder if there's enough room to direct solder the damn thing. Nah, no way. No way in hell. The camera will absolutely hit that. Yeah, so it has to sit sideways. And it looks like I could just do that. It looks like I could just hang this out here, cut this super short, blop it right on there, and away we go. But see, the problem's going to be the leads that I'm going to solder on the bottom there. Just hold it up like this and take a look at how much... Oh, I think I can make that work. I think if I put the XT30 leads on the bottom, they're smaller and thinner. I think that'll work. That's what we're going to try. We're going to try to put that right down there. If I do it There is like a little gap in the carbon here. What if I do it like this? Oh my god, I could push it way the hell in there. Ooh! Ooh! I still think it's going to hit the camera, though. Put it in there like that. Like, yeah! And then the camera is going to... Let's see. So, if this is like... Oh, boy. That's, like, right on there. So, if this is at 0 up tilt... I mean, it'll hit it. And I really want to be able to have this at 0 up tilt. So yeah, we're not going to put it front to back like that. It needs, if it's going to get a capacitor, and it still might not, it needs to go in here sideways like this. And then this guy hangs off the side like that. That's still tight as hell. Dude. Cinesplore is the Cinesplore frame is light because it's small. Like it is a tight, compact frame. That's why it flies so good. If you get it built just right, it is a thing of beauty. To me, it's the best Cinewhoop that we'll ever have. The V2 is also really good, but man, the V1 is just a tight little package. I'm going to try to do it like that, and then if it doesn't work, I'll just desolder it and yank it out. But I think we might just barely have enough space for it. I would really feel much more comfortable having a capacitor and not needing it than not having it and needing it. And the someone is saying, why not just put a capacitor on the battery? Because this doesn't really accomplish anything. The capacitor needs to be direct soldered to the ESC on the shortest cables you can possibly put it on. All right. They're not charged and dead, 661. It's storage voltage. And all of the live broadcast guys do it. So it absolutely does work. There is a little box that that one of the guys makes for it, but that's just more shit that you got to try to force into the build. There's loads of guys that have been doing hundreds and hundreds of batteries on it, and they've had no problems at all. So we're gonna do XT30 on the bottom. Let's do that first. Oh my God, is it nice that this ESC has pads on the top and the bottom? Boy, that is absolutely killer. So, all right, OmniFixo, you're up. All right, so let's grab the plug header and the plug header, and we'll put these guys back like that. No, let's do this. We're gonna flip it upside down. All right, now I just got to make sure I send it out the correct side. I got to make sure I don't get all confused with the fact that this is now upside down. All right, so two of the guys on there like that. We're going to tilt it down a little bit, and then I'm going to hook one of these up to kind of triangulate this to make sure it doesn't move if I need to push on it. And so now it's nice and strong here. That's how you want to use the OmniFixo. Always use a third one to hold one of the other two. And so when the flight controller is sitting like that, I want this to come out this side. And so that means it's going to go out. Oh, this is easy. It's positive and negative, right? I cut the one wire is shorter, and so that makes it easy. Nerd goggles going on. Can I see the plus and the minus? No, but let me just double check. Positive should be on my right, and it is. Okay, positive is on my right side. So we're going to get some flux on here, because if you don't use flux, you're just making your life miserable. And there is some old solder on here. I'm actually going to remove that and put a bunch of fresh solder onto this. So we're going to grab the solder wick. And we're going to tin the tip of the iron and then remove a bunch of this solder from both. So I'm going to lay the solder wick across like this. I'm going to pick up a little bit of solder on the tip of the iron, just a tiny little bit, and then we're going to put the iron nice and flat. That's going to transfer the heat really quickly. It sucked up a ton of the solder. Scooch it over, hit the other one. See how it's moving on me? It's because I didn't get that third OmniFixo arm on there all that well. Pick up a little bit more solder. There we go. Okay. Old solder is off. Let's fix this OmniFixo arm that didn't do what I wanted it to do. Let's put it around this side, and we'll grab it like that. That's a lot better. Not perfect, but should be good enough. Cut off this piece of solder wick, and yeah, I removed enough where I'm just going to add a bunch more solder onto there and we'll be totally fine. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of flux again here. And here we go. Let's tin these pads up with some fresh solder. Brian Kirk says Igow is making me better at soldering. Yeah, man. Hard tricks over and over and over again will give you the opportunity to repair lots of stuff. All right. Soldering iron nice and flat to get as big of a heat transfer as possible. I'm going to hold my hand really, see on the bottom right corner there, I'm going to hold my hand really flat like this. I don't want to come in like this because then I've got just a tiny little bit of the tip of the soldering iron on the pad. I want to get the tip of the soldering iron flat. And then I'm just going to dump a bunch of solder on there. All right. I'm assuming that was the positive pad because it didn't take any time to heat up. There we go. And so now a bunch of the solder actually went to the other side of these pads. That's okay. Once the wire goes on there, it'll pull a bunch of solder back up. And so here we go. We are going to strip this guy. So if I put it next to the pads, I can kind of see how much I need to strip. So right on the other side of the W here. Don't do this the way I'm doing it. Use your fingernails. You don't want to nick the inner strands of wire. If you do it with the flush cutters, just leave a little dent in the silicone. Just leave a little Harvey dent in the silicone. And then use your fingernails. If you try to cut all the way through the silicone, you're going to nick some of the inner strands of wire, and that's going to make the wire weaker. These, these higher gauge wire, they have like 100 strands in there, so like it's not the end of the world. It's a big deal on 30 gauge wire because sometimes 30 gauge wire only has 8 strands. And so if you nick like 2 of those strands, now you're down to 6. That's not very good. So we removed just enough of the silicone. Now we're going to put this in the other OmniFixo, move it away from the board that you're working on, and then we're going to tin these two guys. I've recently realized how much adding a little bit of flux helps when you're tinning these wires. So start doing that, friends. Add a little blob of flux to the wires before you tin them. Oh my God, it makes the process so much faster, which is going to prevent solder from chasing down the wires. And that's a big deal. So we're going to tin the tip of the soldering iron, bring it up, At some point it's going to hit that flux and we're going to get a big cloud of smoke. There it is. And now we're going to push the solder in between the strands of wire, and that's it. You want the heat source on one side of the wire, and you want to push the solder in from the other side of the wire. You're trying to get the solder in between all the little individual strands. Push, 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 and get out of there. You want to spend as little time. The more time you spend tinning these wires, the more solder is going to travel up the silicone, and it's going to give you this big area of silicone that's super stiff. That sucks. By getting this done quickly, it's going to only chase a little bit up that silicone. Cool. Straighten that back out. And I want to double check on positive and negative. Positive is on my right. So we're going out the right. And we're going to do the shorter one first, because then the longer one is going to go up. We're probably going to go diagonal here, but it's always better to do the short one first because it's going to be much more in the way. We're going to move the work, not ourselves. I want this to go 90 degrees out the side, and so I want this to be just like that. And so now I'm going to push down and see what happens, and I can already tell that that one OmniFixo is not doing a good enough job preventing this from moving. So I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to use it as like a secondary little support here on that guy. Just like that. Oh, still not doing a good enough job. Let's move it all the way in here. Oh yeah, now it's not going anywhere. All right, cool. All of your time in soldering should be spent on this bullshit. Moving stuff around, getting it perfectly placed. This is what you want to spend your time on. The soldering iron should only be in your hand for a split second. It should be in and out with the soldering iron. All of your time needs to be spent getting everything perfectly in place so that you can bring the heat in for a split second and then get it the hell out of there. There we go. That's nice and solid. All right. It's all about the prep when it comes to soldering. Heat should come in, get applied, and get removed very quickly. All right. So that's looking pretty good. This is in just the right spot. I'm going to do this kind of handheld, I think. I shouldn't burn myself too bad because I get a little bit more control when I do it handheld. All right, so that's looking good. Let's get our solder in place here. The wires are tinned, so there's a bunch of solder here, and there's a bunch of solder on this pad, so I don't need to add it. But if I have my little spool of solder here like this, I can pick up some solder on the tip of the iron and then come down. That's kind of what you want. Put this in the correct orientation. Don't have this like this. We want the ground wire, the live wire like that, and then we want the ground to come around it. If you have this sitting like this, you're going to have to cross these up, and it's going to be all stupid. Set it so that they lay nice and flat. Move these out the way. Get this guy in place again. And we are going to flux both the pad and the wire. That's going to make the heat transfer damn near instantaneous. We'll move this ground wire out of the way. We'll get this in position. I'm holding this wire as far away as I can to still have good control over it. Put the wire down into the flux. Tuck it in on the side of the pad exactly where I want it. Soldering iron out of the stand. Clean the tip of the soldering iron now. Don't clean it when you put it into the stand. Always clean it when you take it out. Reposition this wire so it's perfect. And here we go. Nice and flat for a big heat transfer. Melting. Melting. Push down a little bit to kind of flatten the wire out. Give it a bigger contact patch. And stay still. Don't blow on it, just stay still. And now I actually want to add a little bit more solder here. So I'm going to pick up a blob on the tip, Drop it back down. One more adjustment. I just want to flatten this wire out a little bit more. There it is. That was it. That's what I want. Fingers are just starting to burn, and we're good to go. Now we're going to come around with the ground. And I'm going to put a little bit of a bend in this just so that the ground is not like under sort of tension, I guess you could say. So let's put a little bend in this just so it's not pulling on the ground. And there we go. Now we're looking good. And I'm going to do a nice little angle so I can still hold the silicone off the pad like this. And yeah, that's looking good. All right, cool. So flux on the pad, flux on the wire. Did you guys notice how quick that happened? How quick that melted? That's a 16 gauge wire. It's a big wire. It's because of the flux. The flux makes this happen so much faster, and it gives you so much more time. I was able to like rework that twice in the same amount of time that most people would just barely get it done the first time. Flux is magic, my friends. Use it. Use it every time. There we go. That's looking good. Clean the tip of the iron. I'm going to remember to pick up a little bit of solder this time. And here we go. Check the wire one more time. Make sure it's in the perfect spot. It is. Here we go. I'm not holding the soldering iron flat enough. I got to make a little adjustment here. Looking for the solder to flow onto the pad. There it happens. Oh, shit. This is, fuck. This is moving all over the place. And that wire is getting really hot really fast. So I'm actually going to use tweezers for this. And I'm going to make a little adjustment. I'm going to change the way that I'm holding this soldering iron like this. And then I'm going to bring this guy in like that. Yeah, that's much better. Much better. All right, let's try this again. See how much longer this has taken? Because I didn't reapply flux. Okay, there we go. That's looking pretty good. Pushing down a little bit to flatten the wires out. There it is. The ground pads are always going to be way harder because the ground pad is tied to one big sheet of copper throughout this ESC. So all the heat that you're putting in here is going to get spread out, and the ESC is going to act like a giant heat sink. And now because of the angle that I think that I put on this ground lead, the voltage lead here is a little bit too long, but that's usually not much of an issue because once you have it in the frame, you're going to have this little angle that kind of happens, and then it's completely fine. So yeah, this is actually good to go. The way that this is sitting, if I plug a battery in like this, I've got just enough room here. If I want to plug the battery in from the back, which is probably what I'll do, it'll be up like that. And so we've got just enough wire. We've got a little bit of extra wire here. That's exactly what we want. That's looking awesome. Now to do the top. It's tempting to want to like blast through soldering and get it done quick. I promise you it's not worth it in the long run. The quicker you do this and the farther away from perfection you are, the sooner you're going to have to fix it. And if it fails above something expensive, it was definitely not worth the time that you saved. Or something fleshy. That, of course, being what she said. Okay, so that's in there. Now we're going to do the XT60 lead. And so, same kind of deal. Let me just quickly check how much I want to strip. about there. Just leaving a dent, and then I'm going to come in with my fingernails, rip the silicone out. The thicker the wire, the harder this is to do. Don't get frustrated. Really dig your fingernails in here. There we go. And so I was pulling on this silicone a lot, and it kind of stretched. And so what I want to do is come in here with my fingernails and push the silicone back down. Although I think yeah, that is looking... With the thicker wires, it looks like you didn't strip off enough because the wire's so thick, but a lot of times you actually did. That's why I went and kind of like remeasured it just now rather than just immediately stripping off more. All right. Give this a little twist to keep all the little strands together. Won't matter once we tin it, but... all right. Ground lead. Okay, so they're going out in this direction. So the ground lead, I want to strip a little bit less. Okay. Even working with these bigger wires, the nerd goggles are amazing. You can just see what you're doing. I don't know if my eyesight is just getting that bad. I don't think it is. But like all FPV work you should be doing with nerd goggles. You can see what the hell you're doing. You can see a solder blob that happens that might blow your shit up. Like you can see the solder on the pad go liquid so that you're not just sitting on the pad forever. Oh boy, I did not strip nearly enough of the silicone off here, and it ripped in like a weird way. This is a little ugly. Oh, all better though. Good to go. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay. Just pulling the silicone back down. Real quick like. Alright, and so this is going to sit in here like that. And that's looking pretty good, to be honest. I think that's about right. I think we can tin this and get going here. Now, I do want to just cut a tiny little bit more of this. Silicone ripped kind of crooked. And so I just want to... Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Alright, so let's tin this up. I'm just going to hang this off the side of the OmniFixo, I think. Yeah, it's fine. Again, flux the wires before you tin them, friends. You won't believe what a difference it makes. I didn't. I'd done it once or twice. My dad had mentioned it forever ago, and like I always kind of kept it in my back pocket. And if I ever had a problem with, tinning wires, I would do this. But now I'm going to start doing it every single time because it just, the end product is so much better and it makes it so much quicker. Let me get a little bit more solder ready to go here. And so heat source on one side of the wire, push the solder in from the other side. You are trying to push the solder in between the individual strands of wire. And what the flux does is it transfers the heat. It keeps it clean, and by doing that, the heat transfers a lot faster. And when the heat transfers a lot faster, it chases up the wire a lot less, and that's important. That way, you don't have like an inch of stiff ass wire. In this case, God, I want to touch that, but I know it's hot. In this case, it's always going to chase up a little bit, but it only chased up like, it looks like about 2 millimeters. That's pretty damn good. Okay. OmniFixo back in position. We're going to do the ground lead first this time. And so let's bend the voltage wire out of the way and figure out how we're going to kind of orient this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And so the Ground lead we're going to run at a 90-degree angle, so it's going to just tuck in on the side there. That looks pretty good. I do have to kind of worry about the heat transferring to the other side, so I'm going to be as quick as possible. The first set that you do, there's no time limit. The second set that you do, whenever you're doing 2 sets of wires on the same set of pads, even if it's one side, the other side, you got to be quick. If I have to rework this, I might end up having to redo the XT30s. What's up, little Bobo? No. I gotta talk. If I have food in my mouth, I can't talk, bro. There it is. Sounds like the teacher in Charlie Brown over here. All right, here we go, friends. Let's give this a shot. Move the work to you. Don't move yourself to the work. All right, pick up a little bit of solder. I forgot to clean the tip of the soldering iron. Let's do that. And here we go. Pick up a little solder. I did not add flux to the wire. I wish I had, but I am putting fresh solder on the tip of the iron. Less of that, little boo. Sorry. That's okay. Still waiting for the heat to transfer to the pad. Still waiting. Okay, I'm going to bail. It needs more flux. That was taking too long. Also, I don't like the angle that this thing is at, so let me just fix this. It was fine on the other side, but I need this to be standing up and like kind of more flattened out, basically. So let me just do a minute of OmniFixo adjusting. All right, here we go. McShaky is exactly right. The oxidization is the main thing that prevents heat transfer, and it's the reason why flux works so well. Okay, so now this is much more vertical, and so now we're gonna hook these OmniFixos up there and there. That's the ticket. Okay. Way better. Way, way, way better. Okay. Coming back in with flux on top of the pad. And then we're going to flux the wire this time. There we go. All right. We want to run this at a 90 degree. Here we go. Okay. Let's see if I can get it this time. It's a big old wire. I got the soldering iron up at 700 degrees. There we go. My God, what a difference. So now it's transferring the heat, but it's spreading the heat out. And so now you got to be really patient. And just give it time. There's a big solder blob there. It's going. It's going. Oh, shit. There's still all that heat in there, so we can come right back onto it. And you know what? There's actually too much solder on this pad. I'm going to heat this up, and I'm going to flick the solder off. All right, we'll get right back into it. There was way too big of a solder ball on that pad. Actually, I'm going to reset here. Pick this up off the OmniFixo real quick. These big wires can be tough sometimes. Let's clean it off one more time. All right, I'm going to remember all the things this time. We're going to go flux, flux, and now I'm going to remember to pick up a blob of solder on the tip of the soldering iron. All right. 90. Yeah, there was just too much solder on there. Pick up a nice big blob. Here we go. buddy. OmniFixo is flexing down a little bit. Yikes. But we should be okay. There we go. Not my best, but not my worst either. Yeah, that's going to be all right. The thing I'm concerned with is when I went to flick that solder, it moved to kind of like the bottom of the wire. Okay, so I actually need to... Yeah, shit. I think I actually need to bring a little bit of solder wick in. I need to remove a little bit. There's a big blob of solder on the bottom of this thing.
You need to shit?
What?
You need to shit?
Sometimes.
Oh.
All right, we're gonna go here. I'm even gonna add a little bit of flux to the wick, and then I just need to remove some of this here. Whoa, easy, fella. I might need to rework this whole goddamn thing. But first, let's get some of this. Oh shit! Get out of there! Get out of there! Get out of there! Oh boy. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to rework this whole shit. Nope, there we go. Alright. It didn't remove much, but it removed the big ball of solder that had moved to the bottom of the pad. So let me see real quick. This is gonna be hot as shit, but let's just sneak it out. Oh, that actually worked really well. Ah, it's totally saved. Cool. Nah, it did exactly what I hoped it did. Again, not the absolute cleanest I've ever done, but, you know, to be honest, I have not soldered big wires in a while. And this is, in my opinion, totally acceptable. So it's... Get out of there. It's nice and smooth here between the two. And then it's relatively smooth up top. I don't love that sharp angle on the top there, but that's just from like an aesthetic point of view. The fact that it's nice and smooth between the wire and the pad is really all that matters. Yeah, and it's nice and smooth all the way around. The connection between the wire and the pad is nice and smooth. There's no like weird aggro craggy bullshit going on. So this is plenty strong. Yeah, this is okay. I'm fine with that. Give it a little tug. Push on a little bit. Yeah, this is good. Cool. Let's get the XT30 on, and then I can't believe it, but this is all that we're going to have done tonight. I'll do more work on this on my time tomorrow. Probably the next day, too. Maybe I can knock this out tomorrow. So now this is going to be a lot easier because it's a voltage pad and it's not tied into the entire ground plane. Come on. Let me get this done and then we can hang out. Okay? All right, here we go. Flux. You know what? I'm going to run into the same problem here. There's a huge blob of solder on top here. Let's get it out of there. Wick. Flux. That's fine. That removed the majority of it. Cool. You know what? I probably wouldn't, even if I'd left that big ball, I would have probably been fine on this pad because it's not the ground pad. But too much solder is not a good thing either. So try not to have too much solder on your stuff. It is better to have a little bit too much than not quite enough. So err in favor of big shiny balls, but don't get super carried away. And I got the same situation where I cut the longer wire a little bit too short, but we'll be all right. Ouch. Whenever that happens, that's me headbutting the overhead lamp. Not the overhead lamp, the swivel lamp, rather. All right, so that's exactly where I want it, and that's being really difficult. So I'm going to have to use tweezers for this. And so tweezers are going to need to come around like this. Yeah, there it is. That's the stuff. Cool. That's looking good. We got the flux on there, I think. Let's pick up a little bit of solder, drop this on, and we'll be good. All right, nice blob of solder on the tip of the soldering iron. And in we go. Get the soldering iron as flat as I can. The pad just went liquid. Push down a little bit. Reposition the tweezers. And the goddamn voltage pad on the bottom just let go. Let's see how bad it is. Maybe it just shifted a little bit. Yeah, I think we're all right. I think I got away with that. Nice smooth joint between the wire and the pad. Ah, god damn it, no. It shifted on the bottom and now it's pushing up against a capacitor. That's absolutely not okay. So I need to rework this bottom one. God damn it. See if I can do that real quick, maybe. All right, hold on. Hold on. Ah, this is gonna suck. Yeah, the top and bottom thing, I want to say it's easier than just stacking these wires on top of each other, but it might not be, because now, like, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I think I was maybe on that pad for just a little bit too long. I'm gonna have to remove this and then put it back down. Nope. There we go. We're good. Oh yeah, cool. Yep, I got pretty lucky on that one. Top pad, bottom pad thing is good. That just needed to be pulled away from that capacitor. Hell yeah, there it is. All set. Cool. See if I can show you one more time. Doing the two wires on the same pad thing is always a pain in the ass. Absolutely always. I think this is the cleanest way of doing it, though. I think this is the least annoying way of doing it. There you go. That's the one that I just reworked. Look how nice it is from the flux that I put on there. See how it's all nice and smooth? That's what you need. You need it to be smooth. You don't want it to be all craggly and shit. The top of the wire can be craggly, but where the wire meets the pad, that has to be smooth. Boy, is it hard to show you guys that. There it is, friends. I feel like I might skip the capacitor. Nah, it'll be fine. Capacitor will be fine. It's such a small gauge wire, it'll just drop right on top. And so yeah, there it is. Double wires. Hopefully they're both still long enough. Yeah, should be good. Sticking right out there. Drop this guy in here. I think maybe like run these wires in between, possibly. Just want to keep this wire run super short now. I'm not going to run them in between. That's stupid. Run them out and around. Give it just enough space to kind of tuck in there. And then just boop, boop. Just drop them right on. Cool. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Whatever. It's all good. Fix the OmniFixo so that the springs aren't in tension. What's happening in chat? What did I miss? What are you lunatics talking about? Blaze FPV says, good evening, struggling to keep it together today, but watching your streams always brightens my day and makes things easier. Very cool. Oh, good. Good. EOS webcam utility. Awesome. That's what you guys were hoping to see, right? You're greatly appreciated. Thank you. You're certainly welcome, brother. I know exactly what you mean. Moss1 says, any tips for flying around fireworks? That question has got asked on pretty much every live stream over the last few live streams. The main thing is to limit your ISO. Limit your ISO to a max of 400. That's going to be the biggest thing. You can run your shutter on auto, but make sure that the ISO can't go above 400. If you can't limit the ISO, just set the ISO at 400 and just leave it there. Moss1 says, cheers. McShaky says, wire quickly oxidizes, so flux cleans the oxidation off the wire and cleans the impurities, so it quickly binds the side of the wire too. Yeah, flux is magic, man. Use flux everywhere. Jamie Flies FPV says, I reworked the XT60 and ESC wires on a Mark V today. God, I'm not the only one who curses while soldering. Yeah, I really don't mind soldering. On Tiny Whoop stuff, I've been doing it so much lately that it's like super quick. Yeah, the big thick wires are a little bit of you have to adjust to them a little bit. When I was building a lot of 5-inch rigs, I was able to knock this shit out really quick. I was used to the timing. I probably had the soldering iron turned up a little bit more. 700 is hot, but it's not that hot. For big thick wires like that, you'd probably max it out at like 750, and just that'll just get it done quicker. That little bit of time that I have to sit there and wait, I'm like, I don't like this, because that's just dumping heat into the board. But yeah. Bad says, good morning from the UK. We are having a good stream, brother. Cold Power says, someone should make a dual lead battery adapter with a switch inside. Use a paperclip to push so you can swap batteries instantly. That would be pretty cool. Cold Power says, Brandon says, that looks trifacult. Cold Powers also says, actually, I bet someone could make it switchless, use an op amp to detect which battery is higher voltage, switch it over immediately. If someone did make something like that, it could. I think that's what Quad Standard Labs actually makes, to be honest. Benny Bravo says, is there anything I can do about loose wobbly motor bell on an 802? Nope. Replace it. Ginger FPV and then keep the bell. Take the bell off, and it's your spare bell, unless the bell is the problem. Ginger FPV says, is that a Mamba 50 amp stack? I just tuned in. It's a 40 amp. Benny Bravo says, the tree topper motor by Weebleed. Yeah, just replace it, brother. Calvin says, last comment of the live stream, he says, out on vacation with the family, freight train rolls by often, and I tiny whooped it. Hella fun. Nice. Awesome, dude. Whoop is the way, man. You can do sketchy shit and nobody will ever know or really care, to be honest. You know, you fly a freight train with a 5-inch rig and you get a $18,000 fine or whatever the hell it was that Nerd got for doing that. And he didn't even the video had not copyright free music in it, and so he couldn't monetize it, so he just had to eat that FAA fine. Thanks for hanging, friends. Here's a little bit more freestyle 5-inch action from a little bit earlier today. I'll see you guys on Friday for some more 5-inch fun. Love you, bye. Nope, this is me still stuck up in the net. Here's me actually flying around, I think. Yeah, look at me go. This is one of my workhorse freestyle basher glides with a Session 5. See you Friday, friends!